So we do have some empty seats filtered in here. I think they're asking everybody to grab a seat if you can. Raise your hand if you're next to an empty seat. Thank you. We've got to watch fire code because this is a hot session. So.
It's like United Airlines.
It is. Yeah, I agree.
Almost, I swear.
You know, we can actually just, are you plugged in?
Well, I don't want to switch over until it's done. I will switch. As soon as it's up. Okay, go ahead. Number 3. No, 3. There we go. Yep.
Hey. Okay. As the rest of you shuffle in, thank you so much. There are a couple more seats if you guys want to try and grab a seat. Thank you for joining us today. Sorry for the slight delay. Today we're going to be talking about integrating Salesforce with other systems, really focused on the technical API path of that. My name is Jay Hurst, for those of you that I don't know. A few of you I see from my previous session 5 minutes ago, so thank you for following me all day. I'm a product manager here at Salesforce, in charge of our data integration layer, specifically our enterprise API, enterprise messaging, platform events, change data capture, platform integration tools, platform integration experience, a few other things here and there. But basically, it's everything to do with how do you get data in and out of Salesforce, how do you take your systems and plug them into Salesforce. I have a very big faux pas here that I can already tell we don't have the safe harbor slide. So I'm going to pretend that I showed it. So I'm just very fast at it. You can't see it. It's there. This is under a forward-looking statement. Anything we talk about today that is not generally available, please make your purchasing decisions based on what is currently available today. I would say for the most part, 99% of what we're going to talk about today is generally available. So thankfully, nothing is really under safe harbor, with the exception of some of these platform events pieces, which I'll talk about at the end. If you have any questions about what is and what is not generally available, what you should and what you should not base your purchasing decisions on, please talk to me afterwards and I can give you a more detailed breakdown. For those of you that were in my last session, you've probably seen this slide before. But what we found out as we've been talking to customers over the past 18 years, and what we see internally, is a lot goes into building a good, engaging experience. We've kind of been referring to this as the geology of IT. Everything that's beneath the surface that you as a customer or you as an end user really don't want to worry about, that still goes into building that engaging experience. At Salesforce, we manage a lot of this for you in the cloud. That's one of our good value props. But you also have to manage this for your own systems internally. This includes things like identity, security, integrations, user experience. All of that is managed by this geology, if you will. And at the end of the day, that extends itself in the behind the scenes of the app or the product that you're delivering to your customers and to your users. This is a great example where you just drop a pin on the map and a car comes and picks you up and you can see the little car driving around in the Uber app. It's really great. But there's a lot of stuff that goes behind that. There's a lot of systems that need to be interacting with in order to get that information. Everything from payment and finance to security to user management to geolocation to app store delivery, et cetera, et cetera. And all of these have to kind of all come together in a really good way in order to deliver that engaging app that you want. And traditional enterprise integration hasn't really bridged the silo or bridged the gap that we've seen. What we end up having is you'll purchase a system, you'll stand up a system, works great for 5 to 6 months, and then you realize, hey, I have a lot of data in there that I need to start passing between. How do I do that? How do I connect it? And really, vendors don't do a great job in all times of connecting things together, Salesforce included. We definitely strive. We have a great partner who will tell us a story about how they're helping to engender this layer, but at the same time, we really want to break down those silos, because this gap really forces itself to your customer. It slows down business, it slows down your development process, and ultimately you end up spending a lot more time and money in just maintaining systems when really what you want to be doing is advancing your systems, advancing your processes. So we look at it as to how can we help you better connect apps, employees, customers? How can we help you close that gap and bridge those silos? We look at it as the intelligent customer success platform on Salesforce. We really start to stack our pieces together in a way that allows you to connect. Ideally, as you move up that stack, think of it as we're looking down on this layer cake. Everything on the bottom layer, the security, the network, the infrastructure shield, that's stuff that you shouldn't have to worry about. That should be just taken care of by us. That's why you put your trust in us. We take care of that for you. As we start to move up the layers, this is where we start to bring in the integration. This is where, at the services and tools, you can begin to integrate your identity systems with Salesforce. You can bring your development experience into Salesforce, your setup, your directory. How do we allow you to do that easily? Up another layer, how do we actually allow you to touch the data in Salesforce that you trust us with? How do we allow you to define the meta model? How do we allow you to transfer data back and forth? How do we break out of this idea of just record-centric operations and move towards an idea of event-driven application? How do we unify your search across systems? And finally, then we can augment different capabilities on top of that through features like Einstein, our Marketing Cloud, our Commerce Cloud, Heroku, that allow you that extra layer of control. Now, on top of all of this, or really, if I added one thing to this slide, it would be the API stack on the side of this, which is we have a lot of APIs. We've prided ourselves on really building APIs. I've been with Salesforce for about 14 years. I was in a meeting a couple weeks ago and something came out that I had never heard of, but Salesforce has the first public API ever created for an enterprise system. This is something that we've baked into our DNA from the start. This is what we go for. It's our API first mentality, and it's how we allow you as a customer to connect to us. It's when you need to bridge to us, whether through a middleware vendor or your own development systems, we want to provide you the right API to do the right thing that you need. And this slide's slightly out of date. I think last count we had 17 distinct APIs and not 9. But the idea is that we are building you the APIs that you need for the specific use case you're using. Whether that's our traditional SOAP and REST APIs so that you can access your data, move data in and out of Salesforce. Whether it's the bulk APIs so you can do things en masse, asynchronously. Whether it's a custom API through Apex so that you can actually build your own, so that you can extend to fit your needs. And then how do we allow you to start connecting things externally to Salesforce? So the external services API, where you can actually point Salesforce to an endpoint, we can interrogate that API, find out what it needs to operate, bring that into workflows so that you actually don't need to code at all. You can do this all through Process Builder. But at the end of the day, what we end up with is kind of a comprehensive suite that spans across our data and business logics. We'll see platform events sits in the middle because that can be both data and business. And then we kind of have that dotted line, which is the level that we traditionally go out to. Everything above that, the application, the middleware, whether it's a toolkit that we do provide or whether it's a partner or whether you develop your own, that's really kind of the layer of engagement, if you will. Oh, I'm not running. But with Force.com, we allow you to really define and drive productivity by building those powerful apps and deploying them. So we allow you to take, through the Lightning experience, the ability to customize, to build a new app, to host that app on the App Exchange, to layer in your complex processes as you need, and to connect to any data source. So the connecting to the data source is really where we start to get into the key. How do you integrate systems with Salesforce? Outside of the APIs, Salesforce Connect is kind of the way that we model this. How many of you have heard of Salesforce Connect? Quite a few. How many are actively using Salesforce Connect? Fewer, okay. So Salesforce Connect allows you to essentially tell Salesforce where your data lives, provided an endpoint that says this is where my data set lives. At runtime, Salesforce can go interrogate that endpoint, bring the data in, mold it to look like a Salesforce entity so that we can display it on Salesforce screens, and then allow your users to view and interact with that data. Once they leave the screen, we flush the data out of our memory so it never actually lives on our system. This is really a preferred way to do some of this integration because you don't have to worry about master data management. You don't have to worry about how do I replicate data between systems? How do I ensure that when I update a record from system A, that propagates correctly over to system B? Instead, what you say is, my data lives in system A. When I need to look at it, I call system A and I bring that data in, I look at it, I throw it away when I don't need it anymore. That way you always have kind of that up-to-date look at the data. Now, with the recent OData 4.0 over the last few releases, we've been able to extend write capability as well. So you can now actually start to interact with that data inside of Salesforce. So I can load a record from SAP into the Salesforce view screen, and then I can actually update it and send that update out all through the UI without having to do any heavy lifting of code. Now, we do this over what is called the Open Data Protocol. This is kind of a way for data systems to talk to each other. It's a way to genericize what data looks like and how to interact with data. It works very well when the systems talk OData. If your system doesn't talk OData, which there are a number of legacy systems that don't, we do allow you to extend the Salesforce Connect using Apex as well. So you can build in custom connectors, and partners can build connectors as well to connect to some of these older systems which don't specifically support OData. Finally, middleware vendors like Jitterbit have the ability to actually act as OData endpoints. So they can talk to your backend systems through their suite of connectors, formulate that data into a specific layout, and then present as an OData interface to Salesforce. So think of it really as that true connectivity or connector solution. The second thing that we're really driving to is platform events, and how do we do real-time integration? For those of you that missed my session an hour ago, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the idea is we really want to allow you to decouple systems together. Traditional point-to-point integration, like I mentioned, doesn't scale very well. If you have 1 or 2 systems, it's pretty easy to make them talk to each other. But when you have 30 or 40 systems, how do you make them all talk to each other? If you have to build direct connections, that fans out very quickly. And then if you're adding a new system to the mix, it would have to connect to everyone. That's very hard, very heavy lifting. With event-driven application instead, what you do is you decouple your publisher from your subscriber. So your publishers can create events onto an event stream. Subscribers can come in as they need, and they can subscribe to that event stream. So you actually don't have to lockstep your development together. I don't have to say, when I want to connect these 2 systems together, I build a direct connection. Instead, one can publish an event, the other can listen to events. And as we start to move in Salesforce specifically, and as our customer base begins to move to this design, we actually get a nice way to easily upgrade our system. So Salesforce can easily begin to upgrade events, push new events, without breaking downstream systems because they don't need to upgrade at the same time. They can choose whether or not to do anything with that new event that they see. So it's kind of a good decoupling pattern. We have a great platform events integration booth downstairs. If you guys are interested, I definitely recommend you stopping by. And I did want to tag out here that the IoT Explorer product, if you guys have seen any of that, is actually built on platform events. This is one of our front-leading foots into how does event architecture work at Salesforce. So they have a great demo in their IoT Legoland. Definitely recommend that you check that out. We also have Heroku, which is our programmatic extension of Salesforce. So this was an acquisition we made a number of years ago. Heroku is a polyglot platform. What this is this is a development platform that allows you to build in whatever language you want that can easily integrate both with Salesforce and with your external systems. Think of it as a true hosting site of your development arm. But more importantly, it also has direct connectivity into Salesforce. So with Heroku Connect, we can actually take the Salesforce data streams, move everything into Heroku. You can then build very large-scale apps on top of that data on Heroku, and then you can pass data back and forth. So when my Heroku app changes a piece of data, it can automatically sync into Salesforce. Salesforce can automatically sync that back out. This is a very good option for customers that have development shops that are specifically not Salesforce oriented. If you're a Java shop, if you're a Ruby shop, if you have specific coding languages that you don't want to have everybody bring everything onto the Salesforce platform because that's a learning curve, you can live in Heroku, you can program in the language that you're used to, and then you can use Heroku Connect to make sure that everything stays up to date within Salesforce so that you can have yet another extension arm outside of Salesforce. And finally, before we get to the partner demo, the DX. DX is our developer experience. This is how we're really layering in control points for our customers to do true CI development against Salesforce, that continuous integration. How do you take what used to be a simple change that was in Sandbox, and then you would do a change set and move that into production? How do you take that into your development paradigm where you actually do team-driven development? You're integrated with GitHub. People are working out of an IDE, and they need to manage changes between multiple places in the team, multiple times, multiple upgrade paths. So for your teams that are just like with Heroku, that is driven to keep your developers where they are most comfortable, DX strives to do the same in the Salesforce world. So keep your developers comfortable in their CI path, allow Salesforce to now play in there as well, so that when they are building an app, they can use Eclipse that they're used to, and they can push it out and roll it forward. So we wanted to spend a lot of time talking about, how do we enable our customers and our partners to easily integrate. Our goal, like I said earlier, is to make sure everything is an open API and an open connectivity point to Salesforce. If you have the resources and you have the expertise, it's very easy to connect to us. Very open and standard. But for those customers that don't, we really do try and engender a good middleware layer where you can choose a partner that can connect to multiple systems and give you the orchestration that you need to tie things together. This is where Jitterbit has done a lot of work with us, and so I will introduce Ilya, and he will give you his demo.
Thank you. So again, thank you for the introduction. I'm here with Jitterbit, and I just want to go right into it. One of the things that Jitterbit as well as Salesforce realizes that your solution at house probably contains a number of systems, a number of applications, a number of tools perhaps. It could be Salesforce as the master record. It could be Salesforce that most of your team are utilizing, but there's probably email. There's probably other tools that people use. There's probably Excel files going around, and other things. So the real enterprise does not usually contain one or two systems. It's usually a number of systems, and you need to connect them. You need to have them talking to each other, and it's a tough job. It's a tough job for any IT shop, big or small. So that's what Jitterbit does. Jitterbit allows you to connect all those endpoint systems in a very easy and very visual way. The ability for those systems to talk to each other, as well as the various clouds, whether it's Salesforce, whether it's Google Apps. You heard yesterday about the great partnership that Salesforce has established with Google. Any other cloud vendors or cloud apps, any internal apps. So a lot of shops out there, they have their own internal proprietary applications. They have their own internal databases and systems. Again, the ability to connect those and potentially expose those connectivity, those business logics as APIs, so you can then build on top of that. So if there is a business logic that you're currently using within your infrastructure that maybe is benefiting the folks that are using Salesforce, maybe there is more. Maybe you want to take those things and you want to expose them as microservices and start building out and composing your apps. This idea of building on top. You've heard of microservices, I'm sure, multiple times this week. I'm sure you'll hear even more. This idea of reuse and expansion through reuse, this is what we're trying to help you with. Again, this is a platform for developers, and it is a platform for technical business analysts, and it is a platform for citizens, people that are users of Salesforce or users of the various apps. We've been around for quite a while. We were established in 2003, but we've been a partner since 2007. The year partnership with Salesforce as a thing was established in the first place. We've worked with Jay and other teams at Salesforce. We worked directly side by side with them, trying to understand what's coming out a year, 2 years out. And then we're bringing that goodness in a well-packaged product with Jitterbit. So one of the things that we wanted to do, again, instead of just talking about the various goodness, is to actually introduce you to a real-life use case. We have Stephanie here from Aspect Software. She's been benefiting from Salesforce, and she's been benefiting from using Jitterbit behind the scenes. So I want to give it over to her. She has a great story, a long history with both technologies.
So I personally have been in the Salesforce space for about 13 years now, and I actually knew about Jitterbit way back in the day when it was open source. So I specialized in integrated systems. That's kind of what my background is. I joined Aspect in January of 2015, and Aspect Software is basically a customer experience software company. We deliver the tools that companies need to be able to manage their contact centers and enable their connections with their customers in the way in which they wish to be connected to. As you can see from the slide, we generally work with some large enterprise customers. We're starting to get into the SaaS space. We do have a version of our tools that are available in a multi-tenant architecture, but it was released about a year ago, so we're still kind of building out that capability. But we've got a really strong core set of products that a lot of large companies use to manage those interactions with their customers. So the story in particular that Ilya and Jay wanted me to come and talk about is the fact that we went from a highly customized Oracle EBS environment that I love to tell the servers, the Unix servers had not been shut off in 11 years when I joined. And there was an understandable fear that if they ever did have to turn them off, they wouldn't come back. They were also highly customized. We couldn't upgrade. We weren't meeting the needs of the business anymore, so we had to do something different. Well, at that time, Jim Haskin, our CIO, gave me a call. We'd worked together in the past. He knew my specialty was kind of bringing together this system of applications that are best of breed, that solve the need of the business, while also using tools like Jitterbit to be the glue in the middle. So we started in January of 2015. I and my team were given a 6-month timeline to essentially replace all of the UI aspects of Oracle EBS. We did it with a combination of re-implementation of Salesforce. We had implemented, one of the stats I love to tell people is we had 384 custom fields on opportunity. Just opportunity. So we had cleanup to do. So we re-implemented Salesforce. We implemented Apttus, CLM, and CPQ to be able to do quoting. We've got very, very complex quotes. We also implemented NetSuite as our ERP engine, Jitterbit as our glue to bring all of that together. One of the great stories with Jitterbit was when I joined, we really had a lot of expertise. So they weren't really doing anything. So yeah, 6 months, but we were 3 months in, and I was having a conversation. It's like, have you started yet? And basically, the answer was no. They were waiting on the business to tell them what it was that they needed to do. So we only had about 3 months to get the integration in place between Salesforce and NetSuite for our order operations. The good news is, sorry, I guess I'm cutting in and out. The good news is that we were able to make it. We were able to implement this integrated environment in a very short period of time. But that was just phase one. From there, we implemented Lightning. I was just talking about that in the Lightning Theater. So we did also implement Lightning for the user interface improvements. We added renewals. We've added additional functionality since then. And the most recent massive change that we had was all that we had left on Oracle EBS as of fall of last year was all of our historical data. So basically, between fall of last year and the end of July, we implemented a data warehouse that's on the Azure Cloud Platform. We use Jitterbit to pull the data from all of the various source systems and put them into our data warehouse so that we can use Power BI for reporting. So we even use it for our internal billing. We're using it for, we had an early version of IoT that we used with some of our own on-premise softwares. Well, that's now all being run through Jitterbit. Jitterbit is truly that glue that kind of sits in the middle of our environment and enables us to be as connected as we are across all of our platforms.
Thank you. So we'd like to do a quick demo, and I know there was a safe harbor, you just didn't notice it. You just didn't see it. So we're going to do a quick demo here, and if we could do the mic switch real quick. There we go. Thank you. So let me see. I need to actually close. There we go. So the real deal. There we go. So as you heard, there is a number of ways to integrate with Salesforce. And one of the newer ways to integrate is called platform events. We actually have another session tomorrow for a very specialized incarnation of platform events, change data capture, and I invite you to attend that session as well. But platform events is essentially a message bus that you can use for quite a lot of things. So we want to show you this demo here, powered by Jitterbit. So I'm going to go and log in, and I promise it'll be quick, which is one of the things that I love about platform events is it is quick and easy. So I'm going to go, and you don't have to memorize all these things. These are Jitterbit interfaces for the DevOps. But here's a citizen integrator experience. And I will just go through and I will configure platform events, right? So this particular recipe is to enable platform events against the opportunities and to connect opportunities out to NetSuite. So Salesforce to NetSuite opportunities. Now it's going to run on the cloud on my on Jitterbit's hosted cloud agent that's given to all the customers. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure everything's working correctly. I'm going to do a test connection. Connection was successful. I'm going to proceed. This is my NetSuite information. It's already been pre-filled because I tested that before the demo, which was a good idea. And it's going to give me some technical information. We can skip right on over that. At this point, we're ready to what we call register to the platform events. So at this point, we're telling Salesforce that Jitterbit is now a new listener to this new platform event topic. And I'm looking at Jay to make sure that I got the terms correct.
Correct.
Thank you. Very good. So we have a new listener now. We're going to go ahead, and we're not waiting a month for this to kick in, right? We're going to go right ahead. I'm going to create a new account. And it is PEDF demo account. And we're just going to, just for the fun of it, I'm going to add a phone number to that. In real life, I really hope your sales team does a better job in populating all the fields. We'll create a new opportunity. Yeah.
We wanted to keep the demo as real to life as possible.
Yes. First world problems. So the PE opportunity and the close date of today, and of course, they went above and beyond and just went to 10% for now. And we're going to add a product. Oops. Gonna actually, yeah, there we go. Thanks, sir. Who is that person helping me? Ghost of Jitterbit. That does come with every single subscription. Ghost of Jitterbit. All right, thank you, Ghost of Jitterbit. I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna go ahead and that's all it took. I'm going to go ahead and edit that and update the stage to closed one. Quick and easy. So what happened behind the scenes? There were a number of events that actually been firing off, right? Depending on whether you registered for them, depending on whether it's a CDC type of event, some of the events you may be not listening to, but potentially, I didn't count, I don't know if you could help me out with the count, but up to about 6 events. As I was clicking those buttons, updating the various objects, all those things are happening behind the scenes. And previously, you had to use various tools to listen to that. You had maybe outbound messaging, maybe it wasn't very real time. You needed to customize a lot of things. Now again, platform events, the idea is that it's quite near real time. And the idea is that you get a lot of the backend information in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on over to NetSuite. And we're going to see if that customer made it over. And I think it was PDF demo account, is that right? Keep me honest. Okay. So when I pull it up in NetSuite, first of all, the account is there, phone number is there. I would hope, for your sake, you would have had more information that came over as well. But whatever information was provided came over. And then under items purchased, that one thing is there as well. So it's pretty simple. Obviously, in real life, you'd want a little bit more things coming over. You would hope that people would fill out more things. But you get the idea. This whole thing unifies those two apps. There's NetSuite, there is Salesforce. Everything that's available in Salesforce is now available in NetSuite in real time. So by the time somebody else in the team goes to NetSuite to pull up the items, it's already in there. They don't have to wait. There isn't 3 hours of customization and hours of maintenance thereon after. It's a very, very simple approach and very real-time approach.
Perfect. Thank you, Ilya. So I think the biggest thing to take away from the demo that we saw here is that multiple systems that traditionally are going to take months or weeks of development time in order to connect it together with Salesforce, when we start to leverage a middleware application, they've taken a lot of that heavy lifting away from you. You don't have to worry about building the specific connector to NetSuite. You don't have to worry about building a return connector back to Salesforce. All you have to do is worry about pointing field A to field B and making sure that the mappings are correct. And that's something that a business admin can do, and specifically a Salesforce business admin who really understands the Salesforce ecosystem, that's where your power can really truly be leveraged. We wanted to show you, Jitterbit has a number of booths and sessions going on. I don't know if you want to speak to it, if you want me to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see us on pretty much every single floor. Dev Forest here on level 1.5. We have engineers there that can actually show you the underbelly, how it works if you're interested. You can ask the guys at the main on the main Expo floor to demo this. Again, they can do a number of demos. You can ask them for something customized, specific to your needs. They can do it on the fly. Again, the idea here is it's very, very quick and easy. We have a few more sessions coming up. Again, I'd highlight the one that Jay will be running tomorrow, again, on the change data capture. Personally, I think it's sorry about that. It's a great new offering that's coming soon. So I would highly recommend that one. It's at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
And we've gone through just a very high level of integration. I know that these sessions can sometimes be a little frustrating because they might not answer all your questions. That's because integration is a lifetime's worth of work, and it really is hard to pick the right level. What we talked about here today is really API-based integrations. How do we start driving towards event-based integrations? But there's also tons of other types, whether you're doing UI integration through Lightning, whether you're using Forcecom Canvas, Lightning Out, Visual Force development. All of these things are available through different sessions that we have this week, also available in the campgrounds. We have a multitude of demos set up. I definitely encourage you guys to spend an hour or two just walking between the different demos booths downstairs. You're going to learn a whole lot. In addition to Jitterbit, we do have a number of other customers and partners that we have been working with. All of them focus on building different sets of connectors. I would really encourage you to visit their booths as well. And with that, I will open it up to Q&A. We have about 4 or 5 minutes. If you do have a question, please step forward to the microphone. Otherwise, shout really loudly so I don't have to repeat the question.
Yeah, Mark's keynote yesterday, he spoke of Google Cloud.
Yep.
Can you speak to what we should expect as far as integration with Google Apps as well as with Google Cloud?
Sure. So I'm not press credentialed, so I can't speak to a lot of things there. What I can say is I know that they're focused on bringing a lot of the Google apps and AdWords features into Salesforce in a very easy, controlled manner. So think of that as a much more declarative. I don't really have a whole lot more information that I can share beyond that, but I definitely encourage you to visit those sessions downstairs. They'll be able to give you a little more. Apologies. For everybody that's leaving, I definitely thank you for your time. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it provided some value. Enjoy the rest of your Dreamforce. Thank you guys so much. We do have a few more minutes if there are other questions. Thank you.
So you touched on Salesforce Connect earlier in the presentation. So in what case or use case would you use Salesforce Connect versus a middleware vendor like Jitterbit?
I mean, you can definitely use them in concert. I don't want to defer you from doing that. But generally, a good use case is if the third-party system that you're working with already has a native OData connector. So a great example is SAP NetWeaver Gateway. They support OData natively. You can connect that through Salesforce directly where you wouldn't need a middleware layer. However, if you look at a different system, maybe you have a homegrown Oracle database or you need a JDBC connector, a middleware vendor like Jitterbit could connect to that side, pull that into the Jitterbit layer, and then expose it as OData through Salesforce Connect. So they can definitely work in concert. Yep.
Yeah, so what happens with the Salesforce Connect is you define an external data source, but what happens behind the scenes, less known, is the way that OData is set up. These are entities. You can actually have multiple data objects under one data source, as long as you can package it as one data source.
Yeah.
And with Jitterbit, you can actually package multiple completely unrelated entities, aka data objects, under one data source, at which point you'll get those multiple external endpoints. So I think that the question that was asked about the OData and Salesforce Connect, I think it wasn't so much about the middleware, but more of when would you use it. And I think it's an extremely powerful technology if you don't want to move that data, or if you have huge amount of data, huge being the operative technical term. If you have that much, you don't want to synchronize back and forth with Salesforce. Those are the perfect use cases. How, at that point, is a more tactical, how do you integrate? But it's definitely doable.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. It is a license-based feature. There are ways that you can leverage that separately. You can use a middleware layer like Jitterbit, connect to 10 systems, expose as one endpoint. There's trade-offs with that, right? You're connecting through a bottleneck, potentially. But there's also, well...
Thank you.
It's a bottle.
I just want to...
It's not slower.
Word from the audience, Jitterbit is never a bottleneck.
Not a bottleneck. But direct connects are generally going to be more efficient and provide usefulness there. However, I would also say that there's a lot of times when you need to do a transformation between. I need to take two systems, two SAP systems. I need to make sure that the data is normalized. I need to make sure that the data is combined in the right way. And that's where you get the power of something like Jitterbit, where they can actually manage that layer, where Salesforce isn't going to specialize in the transform layer.
A lot of what we see is also around authentication and security as well. I don't know if this is something that you ran into, but especially with more data-driven, like, say, SQL, we do get a lot of customers that maybe the ability is there, but they don't want to expose it. Again, that's where you want the middleware more from as a middle tier, right? As a who goes to a database directly, you usually use a web service. So kind of from that same perspective, hey, I want to control it, I want to control the hits. Again, with SAP, a lot of times that comes up as well. And that's where OData could generate a lot of hits. Salesforce doesn't press you on that, but the endpoint system may.
So we are out of time. I'm going to grab my bag and I'll be right outside, and we can continue to answer any questions. But thank you guys so much. Appreciate your time.